Welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Peter Martin. I'm absolutely delighted to say my guest this week is former Aberdeen and Scotland internationalist Alex McLeish. Doesn't get any better for me. Over 700 appearances for Aberdeen, 77 caps, and a wealth of experience at the managerial level as well, Alex. It's great when I can go a trip down memory lane and it's just littered with trophies and highs and lows. Do you ever allow yourself that moment to sit and think about all the things that you've achieved?
Yeah. And you know what, Peter? The crazy thing is, you always forget you always remember the bad things. Oh, I could have done better there. I could have done better in that one as well. But c'est la vie, and when you get the support that you need from above, then it makes the football world a whole lot easier.
Yeah. Do you think that attitude of I could have done better there was maybe down to your family upbringing?
Yeah, kind of humble, and Alex Ferguson, Sir Alex always said, I like my boys to be humble. So we hadn't any choice, So we had a great leader, and many trophies later, it's not been too shabby.
Yeah, it hasn't been in any way. Although everybody always associates, when they think about Aberdeen in the great years, and they think of you and Willie Miller and Jim Leighton and all the, I'm loath to say supporting cast, because the entire team was just rippling with quality. But coming from Glasgow, was there a sense maybe that you thought, if I'm going to make a professional career, I might start at Rangers? Was there a sniff of that, or did you?
Yeah, that was well, back in the day. I'm brought up a Rangers fan. My dad's following my dad's footsteps, his family, and I'm thinking, when am I getting a school boy S form for Rangers? The S forms. Back in the day, it was S forms, not academies.
Yeah.
I said, when am I getting an S form for Rangers? And I kept plugging away with my boys' club team, Glasgow United, Hillwood Boys Club. I played with 2 or 3 boys' clubs, a Barhead Boys Club. And then I thought, what am I doing wrong? And I could see some of my pals going to Celtic and going to Rangers on S forums. And I thought, well, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up. And, eventually the chief scout of Aberdeen rocks up to the front door after a cup final at the weekend, which we had won with Glasgow United, and asked me to be an apprentice professional at Pittodrie. The only thing I wanted to really do, I'd gone for an interview with the bank, Royal Bank, and I thought, I still want to play football, and then I got that offer.
Am I right in thinking you played in the midfield?
I played midfield at school.
Right.
And then actually was dropping further back all the time. In fact, I played as a striker at primary school. I scored a load of goals in my first season, and then went to the secondary, and then I started to play in midfield.
Yeah.
And I had a knack for a goal or two in the secondary school. And then when I went to the boys' clubs, I was starting to grow a little bit taller, and I went back to the sweeper role or back 4 role as a centre half, and that was kind of as I took a stretch, in my growth.
Yeah. What was Aberdeen like when you joined?
Well, so we went up to train from Queen Street with 9 other hopefuls. Jimmy Leighton was the other famous one who made it, and the other lads didn't quite make it. I had a mate, Dougie Brown, from Airdrie, and he emigrated to Australia and ended up in the same team as a guy called Postecoglou.
Wow.
Dougie said he just told him to go up the wing and cross the ball into the box and he would score. And I think they had that kind of partnership. And I met Postecoglou a couple of weeks ago, and I said, I'm going to give you a name, Dougie Brown. He says, oh, never heard a guy swearing so much. So Dougie, if you're watching from Australia.
When you get Aberdeen in those days, they weren't the powerhouse, because Sir Alex wasn't there yet when you eventually get your chance to play in the team.
Ali MacLeod signed me, and working under Ali, you start to find out the way that managers work. They have their own little kind of ideas, you know, and Ali was no different, and he was really inspirational. You know, on the training ground, we'd play the wee games after the training session. We'd play a game. Everybody always wanted a game at the end, and then you would be winning 5-1 or something, and he would say next goal's worth 6 or 5 to go ahead of the team if you get that goal. And Bobby Clark used to go mental, you know, when the other team did score against him, and Bobby says this is ridiculous training, but Ali had them going, you know. He really had everybody going. And then of course Billy McNeill come in, and Billy was great for me, centre half tips and things, and I learned a lot from him. And he you know, he was very close to winning a lot of trophies at Aberdeen. I think we were third in every competition. Yeah. Second in every competition, runners up. And then, of course, the gaffer rocks up, you know, Sir Alex.
You played you mentioned there about Billy coming close. You lost out to Rangers in a cup final. Did you sense, though, despite the defeat, did you sense that there was something special happening, whether it would have been Billy or whether it would have been someone else?
Yeah, we definitely felt that you know, when Sir Alex Ferguson came in, he kind of rocked the boat a wee bit, and he was comparing the players to his ex-team that he'd managed before us, St Mirren players, and people like Willie Muller weren't taking kindly to that, you know. And so, you know, I think he realised very quickly, what am I doing here? I better sort this out. And then, of course, he started to, you know, turn the team into a team of winners, who they had the right attitude for it, you know. And if you didn't like the way he was doing it, then you quite simply were not going to be a part of it.
Even that first title must be beyond your wildest dreams. I mean, for Aberdeen to break the stranglehold that Celtic and Rangers had on Scottish football was amazing. I mean, I think you had players like Steve Archibald as well. You had a right good team, didn't you?
Absolutely brilliant. And here's a thing. A few weeks ago, Frank McDougall, my great pal, died, and I was driving to Bury. His family did the funeral in Bury, where they had a lot of the family staying there. Frank stayed down there for a while as well, working there. And Brian Gunn was driving. Brian picked me up and one of the wee towns and near Bury. And the phone rang, and it was a private number. And I said to Ben, "It's got to be something to do with the funeral." And it was Sir Alex, you know, and he said, "Aye, Alex." I says, "Yeah, I'm just on my way to Frank's funeral." He says, "No, just want you to send a message that I can't make it." And Frank was in my house a couple of weeks ago, and you know, Frank and Spergy used to play snooker all the time, you know, and he said that he'd been in at his house just strictly. I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks before he died. And Fergie then made a statement that, you know, when it's coming from him, you're thinking that, well, that would have happened.
Yeah. And
he said that if he'd had Frank and Stevie Archibald in the same team, then we'd have won the European Cup, Alec, I'm telling you that. I says, how highly you regarded Frank? And he says, and Stevie, of course, as well. So when I told Mark McGee that, he wasn't too happy.
Because I'm glad you said that, because that crew of players, I mean, I must admit, I've been in Sir Alex's company when he was talking so highly of Frank McDougall. I loved him and he rated him as one of the top strikers. But I've never met a bunch of guys. I'm very, very lucky that as a kid growing up, when you would go up to Pittodrie, very rarely would you go up there and think that your team's going to actually get anything because Aberdeen were so good. But to be pals with about half that team, for me, is an absolute joy, because you're all wind-up merchants.
Yeah. There was great banter in the dressing room, you know. Gordon was a quipper, you know. He he quipped every moment, and a lot of sarcasm from him. But as they say, it's the lowest form of wit, but the highest form of intelligence.
Yes.
You know? And so Gordon kept the place buzzing, and we had Wally was kind of the quiet leader, and you knew when he spoke, everybody shut up. You know, so we were through that young learning process. But we had a fantastic vibe in the dressing room, and that carried on to the pitch. And Sir Alex had loads of little pearls of wisdom. You know, that time wasn't a massive analogy. You know, we'd sit through European games right enough, watching a German team for the full 90 minutes. You know, players just couldn't do that anymore. But in terms of going to Rangers and Celtic games at Ibrox and Celtic Park, it was, right, see when you get down here, I want you, when the ball goes out for a throw-in, sprint and get the ball. If there's a free kick, sprint, hand and ball, get it moving. Corner kick, run out and get that. He says, and they'll bottle it. And I thought, the bottle it. So we tried it, and then all of a sudden you see, you know, that, wait a minute. You could see the reaction of the players, you know, the old firm players saying, wait a minute, teams are supposed to waste time when they come here.
You're having a go?
Aye, so we had a go, and then all of a sudden we started to get a wee grip of victory, and from then on, you know, Tommy Burns, another fantastic person, sadly passed, and Fergie brought me into a game, played me in midfield, and said, I want you to be a scarf around Tommy Burns' neck tonight. And I says, what does that mean, man? Mark him, boss, you know. And he says, exactly. So I stuck like a limpet to Tommy the whole night, and we came away with a victory. I think it was a League Cup game, 2-1, and the strategy worked.
Yeah, another great thing about it, as well as creating that siege mentality, he also had a very good scouting network to say, well, if I've got good Aberdeen boys, great, but I'll go and steal the best in the West.
Aye.
And get them up with the mentality as well. Do you think that helped?
Yeah, absolutely. We had, because, you know, the mentality of Glasgow boys was quite kind of different from Aberdeen lads, you know, but God's sake, the Aberdeen boys that we inherited were absolutely fantastic. You know, Neale Coopers, the Johnny Hewitts, but so that mix was brilliant. And again, he showed his flair for getting young players into the team. We had a fantastic team, and the more you won together, then the more confidence you got, and then to go into the European glory that we went on to achieve was just, it's fairy tale stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was that type of... I mentioned the fact that we're all a wind-up. I wouldn't imagine there would be too many people capable of winding up the gaffer, though. Was there anybody that had a ding-dong with him?
Well, listen, he got that nickname, the hairdryer. And he probably shouted at Wally and fell out with Wally. Maybe I could count in one hand, right? So maybe me 10. The creative players get battered. So he was, he'd hammer we Gordon, he'd hammer the younger ones, and you just wanted the standards up, and it drove them to it. You know, they had fantastic tenacity, the boys, and it was almost like they would say, "Oh, show him, we'll show him," and it was more. So it wasn't like they would melt and say, "Oh, I can't play for the boss. He's shouting at me all the time." Yeah. It was like he drove them on, and he must have a good strategy himself, and he carried it out brilliantly.
Here's a great, you'll love this. I've been in his company a couple of times, and I'm standing up. In fact, you were one of them when I said, it's great to see Sir Alex here. And of course, there's Alec, who, along with Willie Miller, the both of them just won the Scottish Cup, on their own. The two of them on a tandem. With the cup,
yeah.
down the middle of Union Street. And he's like to me, don't say
Oh,
it, you know.
God,
He didn't want to say it because there are times when his standards were so high
Yeah.
that he absolutely roasted the team.
I know. He apologised the next morning. He gathered us all together, but you know,
This was after he beaten Rangers in the cup.
So, yeah, it was, and you know, I was milking it at the end, milking it with the fans. The base of the cup was inside. Willie taking the cup inside, and I went to the disabled section and did some photos. So I'm like 15 minutes behind the curve, you know, and the boys, I'm sure, are walloping into the champagne, and I got up and I opened the door, and it is silence, and wee Gordon was there, and I said, "What's up, boys? We just won the cup, we know." Effing him, the gaffer, he's just slaughtered us all. He said, "You and Willie were brilliant, and you were the ones that won the cup." And I says, "Oh, I'm quite happy with that." But you know what? Listen, he just wanted us, because we'd beaten Real Madrid. You know, unbelievable world-class team over the years. Then he thought we could go into the Rangers game with a bit of swagger, but the players were knackered, you know.
Yeah.
There was definitely a tiredness about us, and we scraped over the line with the winning goal.
Did you think that team was missing something, or was it just the luck that you could have maybe gone on and won the European Cup? Because you are a side that has won 2 European trophies in the 1 year, the Super Cup after the Cup Winners' Cup, which is no mean feat. Nobody in Scotland has managed to do that.
Well, you know, as I said to that phone call, he thinks if Archibald and McDougall had been partnered together, then okay, I don't want to discredit the Johnny Hewitts and Eric Blacks, Mark McGee's of this world, because they were absolutely incredible players. The European Cup just didn't quite. Probably the timing of that, you know, was just no right for that bunch of boys.
Yeah.
But to win the Cup Winners' Cup and the history, everything, the pass back from Alex McLeish. But that was meant to be, Peter.
Well, I was going to say, you
Aye.
look at things and you say to yourself, I should have done that better, I should have done that better. But even talking about the final itself, and I know we'll jump in and out, we're not going to do everything in chronological order, but, you know, in a rainy night in Gothenburg, you've actually said to everybody, by the way, this is a heavy pitch. Don't be short with your pass backs.
Well, it wasn't so much short, it was more, you're going to have to chip the ball, boys, because it's sticking in the water.
Yeah.
And that ball 99 times out of 100 would have nestled in Big Jim's arms. But unfortunately, and I said, right away, I said, wait a minute, I've just gave advice to the players in the dressing room before the game, and that is bloody happened. And it stuck. The guy got to it first, took it around Big Jim, and he brought him down. So that, I wanted the ground to swallow me up.
Yeah. But of course, you undersell your contribution, because prior to the penalty, you've gone in what I call, was it a textbook move, striking corner, McLeish header?
I assisted in 2 goals.
Yeah.
You know, one for them, one for us.
It was a great goal with Eric Black, wasn't it?
Brilliant.
Was it from the training ground?
Yes, it was the training ground. It was rehearsed. To be fair to the boss, we worked on a right few free kicks, and a lot of them come off. You know, the one against Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals, which I managed to get my nut to, was another one that was rehearsed.
Yeah.
So
is that your finest night against Bayern Munich to get you on the way to the semis?
Yeah. We just felt we couldn't lose after that. You know, there was a great feeling. We brushed aside the Belgians in the semi-final, and then, you know, to do what we did against the mighty Real Madrid. And I think the last British team to beat Real in a European final.
Which is something to be tremendously proud of. Just out of curiosity, sometimes many a player that I interview in this series for Straight Talk will talk about a significant game where the manager has said something that has inspired to take you to that next level? He may well have been, everybody knows how good he was as a manager. Do you remember anything special about that? Because you're going in against Bayern Munich at Pittodrie. Okay, the place is bouncing, but it's Bayern Munich.
Yeah. The strategy was always score one more than them. It says, because we'd drawn nothing each, and then a 3 each draw, a 4 each draw, a 5 each draw, it doesn't matter. If it's a draw, they go through, and away goes. And he says, score one more than them. That's your target, and that's what you've got to focus on. If they get a goal, you've got to go up that part and score one, and you're back in the game if it is. And we had to do it a couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, Augenthaler hits an absolute raker, and I'm thinking, this is unbelievable from them.
I know. Well, Augenthaler was a specialist in that respect, and a screamer of a goal. And then the commentator was Big Jock, I think, Jock Brown. And Jock, he was so depressed, it was like the voice of doom. He says, and that's it. I don't know, it must have been only about 20 minutes into the game. So, Jock, brilliant commentator, but he must have thought that because he was predicting, and I think he'd predicted in his commentary before that Bayern have got a great record of scoring goals away from home, which turns them into champions. And as soon as they scored, that's it. And then we equalised, and then it was that's it again. And no, we score. I get that equaliser, and 30 seconds later, Hewitt is punching it through the goalie's legs.
How sweet is it? I mean, I know there's a great affection because I've been in your company for the two big emotional Gothenburg tribute nights. How sweet is it when a young homeboy, scores a crucial goal against Munich, but ultimately scores the winner in Gothenburg in John Hewitt?
Oh, it's legendary status, isn't it? He can walk the streets of Aberdeen and get a pint for wherever, get the freedom of the whole of the city. Well, we've all got the freedom now anyway. But John Hewitt, the local boy, was a sensational finisher, and Sir Alex used him really well. John will not like me for saying this, but he did get labelled the super sub at times, but. My word, when somebody like that was coming on and the speed of the boy and the opposition flagging, then you knew John was going to, and he had some attitude, when he come on in every game. But John, wait a minute, I've got to say, you did start in a lot of games, so was not coming on to every game. But certainly in that one, you could see it when he come on, that. Give me the ball, I'll get the ball into the box and I'll get on the end of it.
Yeah.
And McGee's fantastic run enabled John to do that.
Yeah. I know it's difficult because you're a collection. Did you have a favourite? Did you have a player that you looked at and you thought, oh, come on, he's just special because he can do something?
Yeah, it was, I was really a great lover of Eric Black, Listen, experienced guys running about us. We had great players. We had Stuart Kennedy. Stuart didn't play in that final because of injury. But Stuart was a mentor, and ahead of his time as a fullback. We've just seen the progress of a young Eric Black coming through. And this boy could leap, and also he was so athletic. And then when I used to watch Archie and the gaffer taking the training sessions where we'd work with the strikers, and in those days it was a wee bit of first striker coming to the ball and the other one running in behind, and the boys, the younger you teach them, the easier it is for them. It's just like going to school, for goodness sake. And Eric and John Hewitt and the other strikers, the team, Mark McGee, were all fantastic at those runs.
Yeah.
And I just always had a soft spot for Eric.
Two things before we move on from Aberdeen. Sir Alex, he nearly took you to Manchester United, but what does he mean to you?
everything, you know, and the fact that you can still keep in touch with them is wonderful for me and my family. I'm very proud of that, and he always preached humility, you know, and so we're all in abundance with that thanks to his leadership. There's just a sensational period for Aberdeen, but one that set Sir Alex on his way, and you know, I narrowly missed out at Manchester United. At the time, they couldn't make that fee at the time, but they built a great Manchester United side. And you know, in terms of me, and again, I'm saying it's meant to happen because then I go into other things as well, which I'm very proud of also.
Yeah. One little footnote for Aberdeen is seeing every one of you together for the anniversary, 40th anniversary, was really special because the camaraderie was there. Was there a moment where you allowed yourself just that feeling of, I wish Neale Cooper was with the boys, because everybody talked so highly of him?
Yeah, you just gave me a spine tingler there. So, yeah, you know, the day I walked into Pittodrie, they were training on the ash pitch outside the car park. And I see this boy with the curly locks, fantastic frame. And I said, who's that? You know, he looks sensational. And you know, the way he carried himself. And one of them said that this kid's going to be amazing, going to be the new Beckenbauer, you know. And then Willie and I came along and spoiled that, you know. And Neale ended up like a midfield enforcer, you know, which was really ironic, you know, in terms of the type of role he played as a junior and at school, I'm told. So, but he was a fantastic player, and God rest Big Neale as well. And first boy to go from the Gothenburg team, and but never forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely. You must look back. What does it mean to you to be held in such high esteem and always be associated with Aberdeen?
Yeah, so up there, as I said, at 17-year-old, and I think I left the club at 34, 35, so a good 17, 18 years. Met my wife up there, which also is because of Aberdeen Football Club, so I'm really grateful for that. And I've got 3 kids with Jill, and who are, you know, absolutely everything to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually going to rhyme off the trophies that you'd won there.
Aye.
But the three kids beats it hands down. To be fair enough,
that's it. You
I'm
know,
just saying that because of Jill. She'd be like that. That's the best.
Yeah, I was at every birth, and she was panicking sometimes when Fergie was keeping us late at training, and then I made all the births, which was brilliant as well, and that's as great as winning a cup.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 league titles, 5 Scottish Cups, 2 League Cups, a European Cup Winners' Cup, and a Super Cup. Not bad as a player, is it? Oof.
Yeah, I have to pinch myself when I think of that, and you look at all those triumphs, and it's it was it's a team that was built to do that, and every one of those guys, meant something to each other. Gordon Strachan, Gordon says if it wasn't for Stuart Kennedy, and and I'll say, well, if it wasn't for Wally, but if it wasn't for each other, we wouldn't have done it. And if it wasn't for Sir Alex putting it all together and driving us to that goal of being champions in every game and every competition we played in, then that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, and of course with that drive, with that excelling at the highest level, there's a little period here where I can talk about Alex McLeish, the Scotland internationalist, Alex McLeish, the Scotland manager.
Right.
As a player, 77 caps, Hall of Fame, and what a roller coaster ride that was, because I was brought up thinking that Scotland qualified for major tournaments all the time.
I know we had a hiatus, obviously, and You know, back in the day, it was normal that we should be qualifying, as you said, for every tournament, and certainly World Cups. We think we've done 3 or 4 in a row. Well, you look at the stats, but you know, it was an amazing time for Scottish football. We'd love to have done ourselves justice a wee bit more and progressed to the further rounds, but the current squad's doing absolutely brilliant, and you know, most of them are playing at the best level in world football now in the Premier League.
It's funny you saying that, because there is a photograph that I showed Ruffy one day, and I said to him, I think you might have been either a qualifier or it could have been the game against Brazil. I said, but have a look at that team lineup. And I said, do you notice something about it? And he said, no, what is it? And I said, well, apart from your League Cup winning medal of 1971, I said, I'm not belittling you, I'm just saying to you, I said, the other 10 have either won a European Cup or are on the verge of winning a Cup Winners' Cup or have won the UEFA Cup. All 10 of them.
Good.
And some of them were destined to be in a European final, you know, like Archibald in 1987. They were robbed by Steaua Bucharest.
That's right.
So, I mean, 10 of them in European finals or on the verge. It was amazing.
Absolutely. And if you're playing at that kind of level, then there is an expectation, and it would be right for the fans if you're not, you know, quite doing well. We would have loved to have qualified next round. We never managed to do that, but I just can't believe that those players, we weren't able to do it. And we were always to the very last minute of the very last game, and didn't quite make those next stages of the World Cup.
Yeah,
it was mostly World Cup, wasn't it? I don't think we were involved in Euros. You know, for a few years.
Yeah, the World Cups that you were in, though, I have to say, the game against Brazil, I mean, when Neri, you know, puts one in, you know, you're actually saying to yourself, this is magnificent, you know, and as soon as it comes out with the classic line, I think we annoyed them. You know, these type of games, who was the best player that you played against at international level that not necessarily gave you the runaround, but you had your work cut out?
Well, Romario, we played against, and you know, Careca, sensational names, and you know, we actually kept them quite quiet, you know, and it's scary to think that you can do that with players of that magnitude.
Yeah,
and you know, but we've got to do our job as well as the forwards have to get the goals. So it was big tasks, but incredible names that you go against, and the bigger the name you play against, the more it raises your game. But you know that sometimes when you're playing against somebody of real world-class quality, that it only takes 1 second.
Yeah, I'm amazed you said that, because, and you'll never believe this, myself and Davy Moyes and Kenny, his brother, we are in the stand watching the game in 1990 against Brazil.
Aye.
And as you say, it's one moment where suddenly they nick in and score a goal. And I think after it, Mo Johnson had a great chance to equalise.
He did, and it was a point blank save by the goalkeeper, wasn't it? You know, it was a sitter, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
For God's sake!
I will mention to him in the 1-to-1, but no, these sliding doors moments are amazing. What's the difference then? What's more pleasing, the wins as a player, or you suddenly become the manager and you've got the nation literally on your shoulders saying, "Come on"?
Aye. Well, you know, the management side of things is different for that respect. You know, you know that you've got to please millions out there. You know, and whereas as a player, then you've got a team to rely on. Even if you're having a mare, then you know your partners will drag you through it. You know, your teammates will drag you through it. So the thrill of, you know, being a manager and having the whole of the stadium thanking you for winning for the country or winning for the team, then it's a wee bit different from playing. So you do have much more massive responsibility.
Yeah. Was the ultimate night for you Parc des Princes?
Yeah, I've got to say that was a phenomenal night, and the thing was, Peter, when you devise a strategy, I was pretty thorough on the tactics, and we knew that France would have a lot of the ball, but honestly, they didn't really penetrate us. We had Hartley in a sitting role. He had such a great last few years of his career in that kind of position. And we were able to lock on the midfielders to the French midfielders who were the influencers. And it's great when the strategy comes to fruition and you can get a goal out of it, and then you reduce them to scoring nothing.
Yeah. Honestly, that sounds great, right? You had me there. But I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, we're in the stand. I'll never forget it. We're in the stand, and all I can think of is the mugging from Hampden when Thierry Henry looks into the camera and he just basically says, "We will see you in Paris." So ominously, the whole place is bouncing because the Tap Army have done their usual, managed to get tickets for everywhere. And I can remember the commentary. It was non-stop them battering us. Mm-hmm. And then at one point, James McFadden had a nutmeg on the halfway line. Mm-hmm. And I was going, honestly, you thought he'd scored. Yeah. I'm thinking, good on you, James, a nutmeg, because that's as near as we got to their half. Yeah. Was there something significant? Did the game plan work out exactly the way you thought it was?
Listen, we knew we were going to be under the cosh. I remember reading one of Johan Cruyff's books, and he says it's normal when the coach of the inferior team, I didn't think we're inferior, but the French, and I read the French papers before the game, and I knew that they had us beat. Yeah. And again, I was able to relay that to the players also, but also they put their team in the newspaper, and that's why I was able to do the shape that we went with. They were able to lock on to their influential midfielders, and we had Hartley there for protection for the back four as well. And they had a lot of the ball, but if you look at the game, it wasn't like we took a huge battering in terms of loads of chances for the French. They got frustrated, and that's what we went to do. But as I said in that Cruyff book, he said it's normal for the coach of a team who's not at the same level as the other team to make a plan to stop them.
Yeah,
and exactly, and that's exactly what you have to do. You can't just go out there and say, right, let's pass the ball to the back and build our way up to the pitch and do this, and we'll destroy them. Yeah. You've got to stop them and make sure that you've got the players in the team that can make the difference for you, i.e., James McFadden.
When he drags it out of the air. It's just such a great strike. Uh-huh. And the funny thing is, and this is how I know you do every now and then send me the commentary, just as just for a wee trek back, and I always laugh when you send me the commentary. But the reason why, and again, you said you'd read the team and you'd listened to what they'd said in the papers, because and James and I play five-a-sides now, but when you were a kid, if you scored a great goal in the street, you used to say, "Pick it out." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was in my head, because it was it was playing in the street for James, and he hits it from 35 yards, and I thought, "Pick it out, Landrew."
That was brilliant. That was a brilliant piece of commentary.
When I asked James at the end of it, I says, "Did you enjoy your goal?" And he went, "Not as much as you."
I know. I remember shouting, "James, you're not going to shoot, are you?" What? What a goal! I told him that in training.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. Listen, if that's that, just out of curiosity, do you have regrets on the Scotland, even second time around? Because for me, I thought you maybe get I thought it was unfortunate the way it all ended, because you had managed to get us to the Nations League.
It was a bit tough. The second one, I was quite full of anxiety, maybe a little bit tired. Over the years, you've a lot of kind of tiredness. I was going to say head with a sweary word there, but
Yeah.
I can't say that. But so I felt that let's try and get a foundation because when Gordon left, Gordon was so close.
Yes.
And then Alan McLeish said we're making a change, and you up for it? And I said yeah, and then it was about finding new players and bringing the McTominays in. There was John McGinn was already in with Gordon, but he still didn't have all the answers. He certainly bloody does now.
Yeah.
And the Robertsons were in and thereabout, and there was 2 or 3 coming in, and we experimented with some, and it was anxious moments because I know that the press, they want everything instant. They want you to instantly be winning. And the first game we lost to Costa Rica.
Yep.
And the next game we beat Hungary.
Hungary, yeah.
And all of a sudden, the first game was, it was a bit of a disaster. I got some comments like that, and then we win the next game, and then it's no, oh, that's much better. It was still the typical Scottish kind of attitude, and it was in the comment after that one was, let's not get carried away.
Was it hurtful though? Did you feel pain?
Aye, of course it did. Aye, I mean, absolutely. That's what I'm saying about the difference between being a player and a manager is you've got to please millions of people, and when you do that, there's no feeling on earth like that. Whereas as a player, you've got to do your role, you do your bit, and if you're having a bad game, your teammates will help you, or you get subbed or whatever. You can get a bit of respite. But from the managerial level and the expectations, and it's absolutely sometimes I would go back and almost be teary, and say, oh, am I going to get this team built up, and then we got a wee bit of a breather with the getting to the playoffs, and really to go back to the future for that one in terms of bringing 1 or 2 players who have been round the block before.
Yeah.
And bringing them in was key to getting that qualification. So, if hadn't brought them back, then it would have been even worse.
Yeah. But the other thing about it, which you said, which I found particularly annoying at the time, just basically because of our friendship, is the fact that you said you felt tired. Mm-hmm. Some people were looking in press conferences and saying, oh, he's forgetful. Then they were labelling, oh, he's got dementia, oh, he's got Alzheimer's and things like that. And that, for me, was, I didn't like that period.
Aye.
And I know you've come out and spoken about, dementia and Alzheimer's in the last couple of months. I just felt that was a really uneasy time. I didn't like that. I didn't like that period. And I didn't like the way that they were trying to frame things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was right that at the time that it was time, for me to leave. And getting Stevie in has obviously been a bit of a revelation. But I hope I laid some kind of foundation for him. And he's him and I are, have always been pretty close. I can phone him anytime, or likewise he can phone me. I see Stevie in England, a lot of the LMA stuff, the League Managers Association down there, and it was like a sacrificial lamb,
Yeah,
So
well, absolutely.
I'll look at it that way, I'll kind of describe it that way, more a sacrificial lamb. We come in at a difficult period to try and bring new players in, and there was dribs and drabs. They all didn't have the answers at that time.
Yeah.
Some of them have gained absolute world status now, and we've now gone to another level.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Billy McNeill there all those years back. Is that a worry for you now that there's a real emphasis on dementia and Alzheimer's?
I'm an ambassador for
I know you.
The campaign, and yeah, of course, and it's let's face it, he did the ball a couple of million times.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. Is there a fear in the back of your mind?
Listen, it could be even without playing football. You see older people, and you know that happens, but there definitely is a link to the industrial injuries. And that's why I'm backing it. That's why Sir Alex is backing it. And maybe I've got a mountain of knowledge in there, but maybe you forget one or two things, like what was the number one in Top of the Pops in 1984,
Which, to be honest with you, by the way, knowing you as I do, you were usually on that. Because,
Road to nowhere.
Yeah, you're the only...
Talking heads. No, I was too early.
You're the only guy... Excuse me. You're the only guy that's texted me at 3 o'clock in the morning and said, is there any chance you can tell me who sings this?
That's right. No.
So let me switch to the managerial career. Motherwell and Hibs.
Yeah.
I thought you'd two good teams there. There's always those little negative periods.
Aye.
But I thought you built two good teams there.
We did. I kind of inherited a bunch of good players. Tommy McLean left, and I changed the system to the three at the back. Rab McKinnon flying down the wide areas, and Rab Shannon the other, and we had some terrific players. Paul Lambert was emerging as a top player at the time, and big Brian Martin. What Chris McCart, and we end up sandwiching Rangers and Celtic. We finished second to Rangers,
yeah,
and
with Motherwell, which is unheard of.
With Motherwell, and then in the next season, a bit like after winning the treble with Rangers, there was a mass exit. Chris was finished, Krivokovic had gone, there was Tommy Coyne as well, and we needed to find about another 7 or 8 players, to flesh out the team again and get it to a level. And we done nothing we were really struggling. And our pal Tam was giving me pelters.
Yeah.
Right, Tam? Yeah. and then we got to the January window, I think it was, and I brought a player in that made a difference. And an experienced striker in the name of Oni Coyle.
Yeah.
So Oni, he scored about 5 winners or something like that, to take us to safety, and we weren't in any danger at all, and including, he scored the double at Ibrox. So these are moments that you realise that recruitment, is the key, to success.
Yeah.
In any field,
Well, even with the failure of Hibs going down, you managed to build a team to get them right back up, and boy, there were some right tasty players.
What a team we had. Frank Soze was kind of near the end of his career, but what a footballer! And the back three was made for him. For a player at that particular time of his career.
Yeah.
He could 50-yard pass on a tanner.
Yes.
Anybody know what a tanner is?
It was phenomenal. He was so good, wasn't he?
Yeah, fantastic player, and he brought a real confidence to the team. John O'Neill was a revelation, and I think did John get capped with Scotland, but I think he was kind of on the cusp. And mixture Patalainen.
Yeah.
Bringing those 3 big players.
Yeah. Did you have Latipi as well?
Latipi, Patalainen, and Frank Soze. Those 3 transformed the team, and that's when recruitment is
key.
Absolutely key.
Yeah.
Peter. You can dabble away, but when you get players of that kind of standard and quality, then you're actually taking them with the knowledge. You've got, sometimes you take players in and you're going, well, he moves like Tommy Coyne, that young player, so let's take a chance with him. And he comes in and he's just not got the nous of Tommy Coyne in the box or and not the experience. And when you're bringing experienced players in like that, then these guys revolutionise the team.
Yeah. Here's a question for you, which I think this is just my only observation of. You get that big move to Rangers. It's a dream come true. It's the team you supported as a boy. For me, I think history will look back on you with great favour for Rangers fans who know about you had to come in and cut the budget drastically. Mm-hmm. You are facing the juggernaut, which is Celtic under Martin O'Neill.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the titles you won, albeit one of them was right on the last day, but it's still one.
Two of them.
You still had, two of them, I beg your pardon, but you still had built a team on a fraction of the budget. That must fill you with tremendous pride.
Yeah. When you, I mean, it's kind of the story of my managerial career. You know, I went to Aston Villa, and it was I had to reduce the budget by, a considerable amount. I need to consult my lawyers before I mention the amount. And we got the targets and stayed in the Premier League. There's guys in the Premier League have been relegated spending 150 million.
Yeah.
So we were trying to save a few million and stayed in the Premier League.
Yeah. Did you know you were coming into Ibrox with a huge budget cut?
Sorry, back to Ibrox. Yes, it was just kind of. I kind of started to realise it in the first few weeks, and David Murray and Martin Bain were trying to get the figures a bit lower, but at the same time, I was able to keep most of those players for that season.
Yeah,
we did a transaction for Arteta.
Yep.
Mikel Arteta, and I played him in a further forward position because we already had the best number 6 possibly in UK at that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Barry Ferguson. So inheriting those players, Dick actually said at dinner a couple of months ago. He said, I was tired. That job takes a lot out of you. He says, and Alec was a new kid in the block. And I'd actually gone and bought Mitchell van der Gaag from him in Eindhoven, and that's how I got to know Dick before he was even at Rangers.
Yeah.
But he says, Alec was a new kid in the block, and then I took over the team. I thought we were playing too slow, trying to walk the ball into the net, a la the Dutch style, beautiful football. And
you wanted it quicker.
Total football, and we changed the rhythm. And where I took that from was from Sir Alex.
Yeah.
I mean, it was tempo all the time.
You win 2 titles, a Scottish Cup, a League Cup as well with Rangers. And again, it's a strange sort of way, our lives are linked because you're doing your job, I'm doing mine, and ultimately you're at Easter Road, Celtic are at Motherwell, it's the last day of the season, and the only thing that happens is a guy in the morning is on Sky Sports from the SPFL, and he's saying, I'm going to be taking the trophy up in a helicopter.
Aye.
And I looked at it and I thought, oh, aye. And he says, and I'll probably be heading to Fir Park. And I thought, right, okay. So it stuck in my head. And the only thing I could think of when Nacho scored, and obviously Scott McDonald's whipped one in, I'm thinking, wait a minute, this pilot's going to have to change direction.
That was one of the best commentaries I've ever heard in my life. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And I hope you've patented it.
Well, I was just going to say to you, it's paid for the extension. but it was, what was it like for you?
Oh, God.
Sum it up.
Honest. I mean, people are probably fed up me saying this, but it was the biggest spine tingler in my career. When I heard the roar, it wasn't so much the end of the game, it was when I heard the roar from the Rangers fans indicating that Motherwell had scored and McDonald had scored the equaliser, and so I'm thinking, right now we're champions. And then I see Marvin Andrews and Kyriakos starting to dribble out because Hibs have sat back. They've a 1-0 defeat gets them into Europe.
Yeah.
If it's 2-0, then they're out of Europe. So they sat in their own box. And then Marvin and Kyriakos start running out with the ball. No, Marvin, no. He's looking at me. I said, no. And so him and Kyriakos stayed back and kept the door shut. And we had the majority of the play right to the very end of the game. And then it was another roar, but not as powerful as the first one I had.
Yeah, and the celebrations for that must have been long into the night. I mean, it was just... Is it even more special because in many ways it's unexpected, although you were expecting it?
No, listen, you know, we were still in a bit of a wing and a prayer, you know. Martin's team were in the driving seat, and they kind of established that even a couple of weeks before, but to all intents and purposes, Celtic were not going to fail.
Yeah.
But, you know, we hammered home to the boys. Barry's like that at half time. I said, you're a captain, you've got to get up and run all them and keep them going. And so he's up and he's giving it the fist and that. And Big Marvin's doing his bit. And of course, I says, if you don't win the game and something happens at blooming Fir Park, then you will never sleep for the rest of your life. You'll wake up middle of the night and have palpitations and sweats. And sure enough, you know, so, you know, it was out the second half, sprint out, and you see a wee bit of the difference in their attitude in the second half. And a wee bit of magic with 1-2 with Buffel, and then, you know, Nacho getting the goal was great. And I says, well, that's the boys done the job I've asked them to do.
Yeah.
If they can hold it to 1 or we can get another goal, then they've done their job. And if something happens, which it did, then it was just like a fairy tale, wasn't it? I mean, how could you write that script? You could not write that script.
You couldn't. And the other great thing that, you know, for the benefit of people who haven't followed your career the way I have, you go on to Birmingham City and win the League Cup against a right good Arsenal side, which I think, you know, deserves tremendous credit as well. We've run out of time. I want to ask you one last question, which I think is pertinent to a wonderful career, and thanks for taking me through so many of the highs and lows. How would Alex McLeish like to be remembered?
Listen, I think never gave up, and you know that because I said that to you right at the beginning as a kid, trying to get my S forms, but not quite making that. But getting senior professional forms, never give up, and you know, never. You know, there was times when you don't believe in yourself, but I always had the good cop and the bad cop, or good the wee monkeys in your shoulders, and I always tried to keep my cup half full, Peter. And even in the late days with Scotland there, when I was really hurting, you know, for the whole country, and it was hard for me, then I'm glad to see that we're in a fantastic position that the national team's in just now as well.
Yeah. Well, it's been a brilliant roller coaster ride. Alex McLeish,
Thanks, pal.
Top man.